Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning. Welcome to Steam Dev Days. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to stand up here and share what's going to be an awesome event. My name's DJ. I'm here to give you a quick update on Steam business, how it's growing, where we're headed in 2017, and hopefully beyond that as well. But to talk about where we're headed, it's useful to take a look back at where we've been. What was Steam like back in 2013? Anybody remember that store? That's right. Back when it was gray, before we had the blue store. The blue we all have come to love. Back in these days, we were shipping about 5 to 10 games a week. We had 12 to 15 games featured in the main capsule every day. And as a customer, it didn't matter what language I spoke or what country I lived in or really what kind of games I was interested in. I was going to see the 12 games that Valve thought I should see that day. And the process of curating that store was done at Valve, and the process of shipping all of those games was done at Valve. We had a small team that was manually inputting assets and entering text strings and hitting the release button for every game. And we like to think it looked a little something like this. You can see developers coming in with their product and Steam in the middle. That's actually me. I'm in the 4th chair there. Processing those games and getting them to customers. And it was a happy ecosystem. Back in 2011, 2012, this worked really well. But around that time, 2012, 2013, PC content and PC customers started to explode. We had things like engines coming along that were making it less expensive and easier to ship content. We had Steam features like Early Access and Greenlight coming online. And we started to see projects getting funded in new, interesting ways like Kickstarter. And all of a sudden, Steam had become this huge bottleneck. We had frustrated developers that had content that they wanted to get on the platform, but were stuck because Steam didn't have enough time to get it all out. And we had frustrated customers that knew there was awesome content out there, but they couldn't get access to it on Steam. And at that time, we were trying to get content out so fast that it often felt like we were a little bit on fire in the studio itself. This is what that looked like. You can see in some cases our hair is literally on fire. This was clearly not going to be a good long-term solution. And so we got to work on a set of tools for developers that would allow them to get their content on the platform a lot more quickly. Our goal was to get Steam out of the way and let developers do that themselves and be able to hit the release button themselves and get it out on their own schedule. And once we got those developer tools in place, things got quite a bit better. And this is much what the Steam world looks like right now. Developers are able to ship directly to customers without having to wait for anyone at Steam. And customers have access to a bunch of great content, all the great content that PC gaming has to offer. So how did this change the rate at which games were being shipped on Steam? Obviously, when you make these changes, there's going to be an impact. This graph shows games shipped on Steam by month. You can see late 2013, right as we started to roll those tools out, games shipping on the platform went up and to the right. So we clearly solved the problem of allowing devs to get their content out, but we still had a problem helping customers find the right set of content. How are users going to make decisions about which game to buy when they're in this world of only seeing 12 titles in the main capsule that we feature? It doesn't matter how much great content is, how much great content there is, if you're not giving them tools to go track it down and find things they're interested in. So that's the next set of tools we started to build. In 2014, we released a new storefront called the Discovery Update. The Discovery Update allowed us to give every user on Steam their own unique main capsule. And they had filters where they could say, you know what, I don't want to see early access titles, or I don't want to see this genre of titles. And they could have a more customized set of things for them to look at on the front page. And Steam, on the back end, was learning more about those users as well. We were able to see what they were playing, see what was in their library, and put things into their main capsule that made more sense for them, aligned more with their interest. Today, we actually feature 500 to 600 titles a day to people around the world in the main capsule. So compared to 12, like it was a couple years ago, it's a really big improvement. This year to date, we've featured 4,800 unique titles in the main capsule to people around the world. So through that, we feel like we've really improved in a couple significant ways. Developers have tools now to ship content. Users have tools to find content. And those are both very important. And as a result of being able to connect users with the games that they're interested in, we've seen successes from games like this that we might have missed a couple years ago. The titles you see here all have three things in common. They launched in 2016. They have really high review scores. Every title up here is either very positive or overwhelmingly positive on the Steam store. And they're among the top revenue-producing titles in 2016. We used to sit in meetings at Valve during that time when we were on fire, and have to decide, look at 20 games and have to decide which 5 we were going to be able to ship that week. And the ones we didn't pick didn't get shipped because we just couldn't get them out fast enough. And what we quickly realized is we're terrible at predicting what's going to resonate with customers. That is not what we do well. The people that do that well is customers, and we desperately wanted to get that in the hands of customers. Had we looked at this set of games back in those meetings, we may have missed something like Stardew Valley, right? We might have looked at that and decided that farming corn probably isn't going to be that interesting to customers. Turns out, customers love that game. It has a 97% user rating on Steam, and hundreds of thousands of players have played and enjoyed that title and still do. So it would have been a crying shame to miss out on a title like that and any of these because we just weren't fast enough to get the content out. And if you take a step back to when the Discovery update shipped back in 2014, you can see a bunch of titles that are in that same situation. Each of these titles, again, super high review scores, very, very successful on Steam. And without some of the changes we've made to the store, we feel like we might have missed on a bunch of these. And so we're happy with that progress. There's just so much incredible content coming to the PC, much of it coming from the people in this room. And we feel like our job at Valve is to find a way to help all boats rise, to create this picture here and allow this to happen. And by getting ourselves out of the way, we feel like we've done a pretty good job getting to that point. So we've talked about how growth in games has gone. We've also seen tremendous growth in users. This graph shows peak concurrent users over the past few years. I'll get out of the way so you can take pictures. Sorry. You can see here that concurrent users have tripled since 2011. But maybe even more interesting is not only have the users tripled, but what's happening from an engagement standpoint is pretty incredible as well. We've seen an increase in the amount of time the average customer spends playing on Steam. We've also seen an increase in the variety of games those users play, on average. So we've got more games on Steam, more playtime from each user, and a wider variety of games chosen from each user. It's really good progress across all three. Okay, so we've talked about how games are growing, talked about how users are growing, playtime. Let's talk about revenue. This graph shows the 2 biggest markets on Steam since the last dev days in 2014. That's North America and Western Europe. North America is the biggest market on Steam. It's grown 80% since we were here 2.5 years ago at Dev Days. And yep, Western Europe has grown between 50 and 60%. And while 80% growth in North America is awesome, check out what's happening around the world. This graph is sorted left to right by the biggest territories on Steam. So those 2 bars we just looked at, North America and Western Europe, are on the left-hand side, number 1 and 2. The third bar is Asia. Asia is the 3rd biggest territory on Steam now. And had we been having this talk a year ago, that wouldn't have been the case. Asia's growth has been incredible. We're up over almost at 500% growth since we were sitting here at Dev Days in 2014. in Asia. And there are a bunch of territories growing really well. You can see Southeast Asia and South Asia and the Middle East all with 200, 300% growth. These are new customers getting excited about PC gaming, coming into the market, many for the first time. And what you're seeing here with growth around the world isn't an accident. There are a bunch of games on Steam that have paid attention to these markets with localization, pricing, and they've benefited from that. You can see with the growth that a bunch of that is games benefiting from all these new customers coming in. And we think any of you that are thinking about shipping a game right now should be paying a lot of attention to, are we localizing our game in the right countries in Asia? Is it priced correctly in Russia and in Brazil? And are we doing the right thing for that set of customers based on that economy? And Steam gives you all the tools to play with those pricing, and we can work with you on what set of countries to be localizing in and that kind of data. But it really should be part of your thought process. Sorry. In addition to that, Valve has been working really hard to foster growth in these countries. Steam has invested in a bunch of ways to help this growth. Let me show you what that looks like. Steam is localized into 25 native languages around the world. It makes it easier for customers to shop if they can understand what they're reading. We're localized in 29 currencies around the world. Again, makes it easier to shop if you're comfortable with the value proposition of what this game costs and what that means versus other things I buy in my day-to-day life. We have 50+ local payment methods around the world. And so if you're a customer that doesn't have a credit card, which many of our customers around the world don't, we have many ways for you to get money into the system that fit with your day-to-day life. You don't have to have these extra hurdles in getting in utilizing Steam. And worldwide content, we have game developers now in over 100 countries. When we were here in 2014, we had game developers in 50 to 55 countries. So that's almost doubled in 2.5 years, which means a ton of local content now coming around the world, which gets new users in those territories, which gets more content in those territories. It's a really awesome cycle that starts to happen where customers start to grow. OK, so we've covered a few of the ways Steam has grown: games, users, playtime, revenue. And I wanted to bring this slide back up and talk about it for just a second. The growth that we're seeing on Steam, especially for developers, can be amazing. It's great to see all that growth across the board. It also can be a touch scary. And we wanted to just go ahead and address that and let you know that from what we're seeing, what hasn't changed is customers are looking for great content. And I think that's what this slide represents is, despite the growth in titles, Steam is still a meritocracy. This is a place where great content rises to the top. And all the tools we're building around users being able to search the store and you guys being able to have tight connections with those users is to foster this. We want amazing titles like this with very positive and overwhelmingly positive ratings to rise to the top. These games up here vary wildly in terms of genre, size of publisher, size of marketing budget. But each and every one has served and connected with their audiences in a real way. So the message I want to deliver here is the way to find success on Steam is to make a great game and connect with an audience. And that hasn't changed. That was true when our hair was on fire 3 years ago. It's still true now, and it's going to be true when we get back together in a couple years for this again. OK, so let's come back to present day and talk a little bit about where Steam is headed in 2017 and beyond. What are we going to be up to going forward? We're going to keep making it easier for customers to find content. We're going to keep making it easier for developers to bring games to Steam. In the next couple of weeks, we're actually going to update the store in a pretty major way again. We're bringing better filtering controls, better recommendations, more information about what your friends are playing. We want the store to do more work and bear more of that load of connecting you guys with users. We're going to add more robust support for content types like VR and video. And we intend to continue iterating on the store all the time. This is not something that's done. We're going to keep making it better and better. Another way Steam is preparing for the future is hardware. When we were here in 2014, we talked a lot about how Steam was going to extend into the living room and what that meant. And one of our goals at that time was, and still is one of our goals, is to treat hardware more like software. Valve is a software company. We've learned a lot from developing software for 20 years, and we wanted to apply those learnings to hardware. The controller, since launch, has been updated 72 times in less than a year. It's a much better product today than it was when it launched in November because of that. And a lot of those updates have added a ton of functionality to the controller. And we choose what to work on based on what you guys tell us to work on. What developers and users think is important, that's how we prioritize which updates we're going to do next. So getting that feedback from you, you're going to hear this a lot, but getting that feedback from you while we're here and in general is really important. With the controller specifically, we intend to continue that approach. We're going to ship another 72 updates next year. I don't know if that's actually true, but we're going to ship some updates next year. Scott Dalton will probably be mad at me for that. And we intend to, in fact, coming soon, we're going to ship another update to the Steamworks API. This update's going to add support for all of the popular controllers on the market. So you don't need to have controller-specific code any longer. You can ship to the Steamworks API, and every controller will be supported. It's a major improvement and something that we've been working really hard on. The Steam Link is another product we talked about a couple years ago and shipped in November. And it's one of a series of products that are going to continue to bring Steam into more places in your home. Samsung and Valve just announced that the same Link technology that powers the Steam Link will soon be integrated into Samsung TVs. So go out, buy a new TV, bring it home. You now have Steam available to you in a new room in the house. And TVs do a bunch of things these days. They're all connected to the internet, tons of apps available. But it's worth pointing out that this is not just an app available on the store. Link technology is directly integrated into the TV hardware to achieve low latency and high fidelity, which is absolutely necessary if you're going to be streaming games. And we'll continue to find ways to make Steam available in more places in your house, just like this. We're also continuing to invest in SteamOS. We're working with engines like Unity and Unreal to make SteamOS easier and quicker to develop for. Both these engines now have Vulkan support, which is a high-performance graphics API that Valve helped develop. And if you target Vulkan now, no matter what platform you're developing for, you'll be able to take advantage of our future efforts in the living room and in VR. We've also been working hard to integrate SteamVR into SteamOS. We think there's a bunch of value in SteamOS being an easy plug-and-play solution for VR consumers going forward. And speaking of VR, virtual reality is another important category for us. Greg talked a lot about it. You're going to hear a bunch about it over the next couple days. But let me give you a couple stats, a couple high-level thoughts about how we're seeing VR right now. There are over 600 VR apps on the store on Steam right now. Hundreds more coming soon. Content is really humming along. We have over 1,000 new VR users on Steam every single day. And there are a number of VR apps already that have made $1 million on Steam. All the signs of success are there. Developers are having success. We have excited customers, rapidly advancing technology. Everything we want to see in the VR space is happening. So going forward, you're going to see Valve continue to be all in on VR. Look around at the show over the next couple of days. It's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to invest aggressively in a bunch of different ways. And Joe, who's coming up next, is going to have some specifics on those investments. OK, so I want to wrap up, harken back to what Greg said about many-to-many. We've talked through the history of how we connect developers with customers, along with the role Steam plays in that connection. And I want to quickly run you back through the early manual days, the days when our hair were on fire, to where we are today. Good set of tools in place for developers and customers to connect with each other without Steam slowing everything down. But we're not done. We're going to continue to invest to make your connection with customers tighter. This image is a representation of a couple things to us. First, this is the way we think about the future of developers and customers on Steam. You'll notice that Steam and Steam's processes and our desks are all out of the way. This is you having a direct connection with customers. Second, we want this to be an image of what Dev Days is going to be like this week. Everyone here connecting with each other, sharing ideas. So while you're here at the conference, please, again, give us feedback. It's how we improve. It's how we're going to help Steam and help all of you and help this entire industry move forward. Tell us what you're working on. What ideas do you have to improve the platform? Connect with each other. Share ideas. And most of all, please, keep making great games. I'm going to hand it off to Joe. He's going to talk about the philosophy of VR. Thank you very much.